Listening to your truth. This is such a topic that interests me because when you start listening to your truth, all of a sudden things get so much easier. Like when you start listening to your truth, what starts happening is you start really walking your own path. And when you start really walking your own path, somehow the universe starts to really reward that. When you look at when you start to do research on all the people that were somehow successful, or where you were knowing like, hey, this person is absolutely in his element. When you start seeing what they were doing, they always had a unique path according to them. And somehow what they were all doing, they were somehow listening to their truth more than the truth of other people. But how do we listen to our truth? And would you love to be able to make this topic of life more easy so that you know how you walk your own path, right? I would love to let you know how to walk your own path. I love walking my own path. It's an absolute joy. So I asked the Akashic Records for a whole month. Almost every day in my readings, my personal readings, I was like, okay, let me just ask, how do I listen to my truth? How do other people listen to their truth? And a lot of answers came, and I gathered these answers, and I tried to make it into 7 points. I tried to gather them all into 7 points. So in this video, we're going to go through these 7 points in detail, so that at the end of this, you will know exactly how to listen to your truth, not in one way, but in 7 completely different ways. Let's go. By the way, my name is Philip Elisa. I'm an Akashic Record teacher. I'm an Akashic coach. I love to let people bring them into inner alignment, where their heart, their body, their mind is all in one line, listening to their truth, or walking their path of purpose. I love this stuff. So buckle up, because we're going into your truth. We're going to get into this topic, get into the juicy details of what it means to be listening to that truth. The very first point, let's start with the easiest and the simplest one. Don't say yes when it is not fully a yes. You're like, duh, but this is happening all the time. I see it happening all the time. I notice in myself it happens sometimes when I feel it's not a full yes, but it's still like, I don't want to let these people down, so I'm going to say yes. And then at the end of the day, nobody really won anything from it. You know, I didn't like it. The other person probably also feels that I'm not fully in it. When it is not a full yes, when you're not able to think like, oh my God, this is absolutely me, say no. Make room for your full yes to appear. When you feel in yourself, there is some caveats, I'm not fully sure, don't say yes, even if the person is pushing you. Don't say yes. Like, don't buy anything when it's not a full yes. Don't order food when it's not a full yes. Don't say yes to a person that wants to meet when it's not a full yes. Now, this is so easy, but we all know that we do this sometimes, and we all know that most of the time it was actually not a good choice. Sometimes it became a positive surprise. So what is that difference between that yes, that is actually would better if you just said no, or a yes that you're like, I'm not fully sure, and all of a sudden it was the best choice of your life and you're so happy you said yes? Most of the time, this difference can be felt in the heart, and it's another topic. I will go into that more later. But quickly here, when you're not fully sure, but your heart is expanding, when you are considering the option, say yes. When you're not fully sure and your heart space is contracting on the topic, say no. As a quick reminder, we have lots of things to cover, so I'm going quite quickly through this first point. But it's very easy because your body will always know if it's a yes or no to you. Your mind might think something, but your body always knows. It most of the time opens up when it's a full yes. It relaxes, it opens up, and it leans forward when it's a full yes. It leans backward, contracts, and kind of tenses when it's a no in some way. Just when you're considering different options, you can very much listen to your body. And when the body is not a full yes, say no. Say no, it's not in my alignment right now. You don't even have to have an excuse. You can just say no because you just say it's not the time for me to say yes right now. It's clear. It's clear. And when you have friends, it's like, oh, come on, you got to have some fun. You say, no, I had enough fun. And yes, I'm gonna have a lot of fun. But I feel right now in my body that I shouldn't say yes to this. It's extremely powerful to come from that place. And you listen to your own truth. And when you say no more, what starts happening is you start to create more space in your life so that actually the things that are truly you can come in. And that is, of course, the goal. If your life is at the moment clouded with things that are not truly you, the first thing that I would advise you to do is say no to the things that you know are not truly you. And do that gradually. Don't radically change everything, or maybe that's your thing, but do it gradually. Say no to a couple things. See some space created. And sometimes that means you have to be alone. But that alone time you can greatly use to meditate, to listen to your own truth. You can greatly use it to reflect. You can take a walk. You can connect with nature. In that alone time, sometimes in the silence, the new big, fully you yes comes and drops into your field. So before that happens, most of the time you need to prioritize yourself and say no. I love it. So let's move to the next one. The first one, don't say yes when it's a semi-yes. When it's a half yes, don't say yes. The second one is a deep one. Surrender to remember. This came after a healing session I did into my mind and it became a mantra. Surrender to remember. Now, my interpretation of it, when I heard that, was when I try to figure things out, I'm not surrendered. When I'm trying to understand and learn and think, I'm not surrendered. And so I don't remember. But when I am surrendered and completely accepting what comes to me, the insights are coming with it. Which means when there is a moment of that I don't know, if I just surrender in the not knowingness, probably moments later I will know exactly what's going on because I surrendered into it and therefore I remember. Which means by surrendering the insights that you need to know, the truth that you need to know can come into your field. It's such a simple or short sentence, surrender to remember. But it has such deep implications because you immediately will feel all the times when you're not surrendered. And surrender is such a practice on its own. You know, it's a practice that most humans are not practicing. But what I've noticed so far in my own journey, and I love it, is that surrendering is such a gift. It makes life so much easier. It's in a way a leap of faith sometimes. It's a trust exercise with life. So if you don't trust life, surrender is going to be very hard. You also notice that, for example, when you talk about medicine work, plant medicines, when someone is very much a control freak and has a hard time to surrender, the trip most of the time doesn't go so well. But when someone is able to surrender to the experience, it almost is a divine experience for someone. Some people even say it's the best thing of their life. Some people even say that in one session they completely removed depression out of their life. Or in one session, the PTSD that was there for many years, and even though they did many hours of therapy and psychology and whatever, one session of plant medicine sometimes starts to completely eradicate the fear and the trauma that they were having. Why is that? Because they were able to surrender, and so they remembered their truth. This is an extreme example. I don't say do plant medicine, but what I do say, practice surrender. Because when you start practicing surrendering, it is just so beautiful. You start to see that life is constantly giving you signs. That life is constantly helping you understand, helping you get more abundant, helping you get opportunities, helping you listening to your truth. It is always giving and giving and giving and giving. But when we're not in a surrendered state, how could we ever receive that giving? So, for me, actually surrendering, now I'm reflecting here with you on it, it's kind of a receiving of life. Can you receive life fully? And some of you are in a good state and it's easier, but some of you are in not such a good state and you don't even want to receive life. You're like, my life is not good right now. I'm in this crisis and I'm in there. I don't want to receive more crisis and more drama and more stress. Surrender to remember. What that means in that situation is when you start to surrender to, okay, there is stress right now. Okay, there is crisis right now in my life. Okay, there is panic right now in my life. When you stop fighting it, all of a sudden the whole grip on you disappears. And all of a sudden you're in a state when the panic is maybe still there, but you're not grabbed by it. It's not moving you anymore. It's kind of a space where you and the panic are both existing in. And out of that space, new insights can come and you realize, oh, I don't have to panic. Oh, I was stressing way too much. I don't have to stress this much. And then you surrendered and then you remembered. This is such a powerful mantra. For me, it has been since it came in, I think 2 months ago, it has been many times on my mind. Whenever I had a situation, I was just walking the street or whenever I felt scared or not fully trusting, I was like, surrender to remember. And it always worked out. So I advise you, if this resonated with you, to really write it down. Maybe get some reminders in your home saying surrender to remember. It's such an easy sentence, but it will get you so far. So I happy practice surrendering. And if you need more help with that, I'm here for you because it's my practice. I'm doing this all the time. I love it. It is one of the biggest gifts in my life, actually. So let's move on to the next topic. We already had say yes. Only say yes when it's a full yes. Don't say yes when it's a semi yes. Surrender to remember. The next one, and you probably hear this all the time, and I hear this all the time, and I didn't adhere to this even today. So this is something that I need to hear as well. Make sure your sleep is holy. Make sure your sleep is holy. Go to bed when you know it is best for you and wake up without snoozing. Now, I'm saying this while I just had an incredible snoozy morning this morning. I couldn't get out of bed. So this is something that I really needed to remind myself of literally right now when I'm recording this video. It's like, oh my God, so true. I also went to bed maybe an hour or two after I knew it was the right time to go to bed. Right? At one point you're in the evening and at one point you're getting tired and you kind of feel like, wow, if I go to bed right now, I would immediately doze off. Go. But maybe you're watching something, maybe you're still doing something, maybe there was still something on your list that you want to complete. And by doing that, you get out of that first window of where your body really is saying to you, go to bed. And then there's a couple of hours where you have maybe a little bit more energy again. And then you have a second window. But that second window will already provide you or rob you for maybe 2 hours of really good restful sleep. And then snoozing, yeah, they always say when you snooze, you lose. This is something that I feel is true. Even though I love snoozing, I love that feeling of just laying in bed and just like, oh my God, I feel so blissful. I feel so, oh, can I just stay a little bit longer in this warmness? Can I stay a little bit longer in this coziness? Especially with winter, everything's cozy. Everything is like, at least here in the northern half of the world, things seem so cozy, things seem so fun and enjoyable. And I'm like, oh man, can I just lay a little bit longer here? I feel so good. I'm still a little bit dreaming in and out of the dream state. But the more I do this, the more tired I get during the day, the less hours I have during the day to create, for example, to do things that I truly love. There's a psychological game going on when I am like, oh my God, I just woke up and it's almost 12 o'clock, like, oh my God, I could have spent already 5 hours working and I just started. And I get this negative impulse. I'm maybe also a little bit hard on myself, but it's on the background. It's just something psychologically, time-wise, that I feel so much better when I woke up early. For example, the 12 o'clock point. There are days where I woke up early and I'm like, oh my God, I did so much and it's only 12. And I'm happy. And other days, as today, where I snoozed, I'm like, oh my God, I just started working and it's already 12. Even though somehow in my conscious mind, I'm like, who cares? I can wake up at 10 and go to bed at 2. I don't have to always wake up at 7 or 6. Even though that feels also true, there is on a subconscious level something linked with time and judging where I am at the day based on the clock, which is probably something that I can release, but at the moment it's still in me. And so when I snooze, I lose, because when I snooze, I have that negative effect on my day. When I didn't snooze, I have that positive effect on my day. So it's an extra positivity boost, and probably more dopamine runs through my system every day. And therefore, it is really good to listen to your truth, not only how to listen to your truth and gather the truth, but the more rested you are, the better it is. The less rested you are, the less it is easy to do the right things, the more you get tempted. You probably already know this. When you're tired, you get tempted. You eat worse, you do more stupid stuff. You're more tempted to do more things that are not really good for you. When you're rested, you do things that are very good for you. So let's rest more and let's listen to the body when it wants to go to bed and listen to that. And when it wants to wake up and listen to that, and not stay too long in that state, but actually have something quite exciting going on in the morning that you maybe look forward to. Like as soon as you wake up, it's like, oh my God, I can do my yoga. Oh my God, I can do my morning walk in between the trees or whatever that is for you. So let's listen to that, because this is indirectly listening to your truth, but it has such a big effect. Sleep has such an incredibly big effect. It's one of the most first priorities we need to take care of, and we're now living in a world where we are able to, so let's make use of that. Let's make use of the ability to proper sleep. The next point, it has to do with a guitar. Maybe I can get my guitar. Let me get my guitar. So I bought a guitar a half year ago and I'm learning guitar. And this metaphor is actually quite nice to use the guitar for. The Akashic Records even used that when I was asking for it. Like, hey, what is the... I mean, maybe even should do a song like, listen to your truth. Anyway, what is the best thing possible when it comes to a guitar? And they were talking about the strings. So, a string, let me see if I can get that. When a string gets too tight, I'm gonna detune it. When a string gets too tight, it's gonna get too stressed. And when you get too stressed, it's gonna be hard to listen to your truth. And you're gonna be out of tune with life. Or when a string gets too loose, it's becoming too lazy. And when it's getting too lazy, it's also getting out of tune with life, and it's harder to listen to your truth. So when a string is too lazy, you're out of tune. When a string is too tight, you're too stressed, and you're out of tune. So what shall we do? First of all, we can feel in our own bodies. Are our strings too tight or too loose? Now, what do I mean with that? What do I mean with that? Strings are too tight or too loose. Now, when you feel into your body, are you most of the time very stressed? Or do you feel tense? Do you feel you really need a massage? Do you feel you have a lot of weight on your shoulders? Do you feel stress in any form? Anxiety in any form? Probably your strings are too tight. Do you get frustrated easily? Do you have a lot of fire in you? Probably your strings are too tight. Are you easily overwhelmed? Probably your strings are too tight. So you can just feel, are my strings too tight? Or are your strings too loose? Now, what does that mean? Is it very hard for you to start something? Do you have many ideas, but you just cannot get into action? Do you have the feeling, yes, life would be nice, or yes, it would be good for me to do some more exercise, but I don't. Maybe tomorrow. Your strings are too loose in that area. So, how can we change that? We can tune ourselves to your perfect moment, to your perfect point. So, how do we tune ourselves? Now, it depends on if you're too tight or too loose. If it's too tight, start relaxing more. Make sure you start relax more. And if your mind is like, but I cannot relax because this and that, that is definitely a case of being too tight. When your mind is even resisting the relaxation, then you really need to relax more. So relax more. Start to at least breathe deeper. Start to maybe go to a massage. Start to go to a spa. Plan some self-care time for yourself. You will notice that the world will move on perfectly without you holding on to all that stress. You don't have to hold on to all that stress. Actually, the stress makes it harder for you to actually fulfill the tasks. It's a big mindfuck. It's a big illusion stress, really. Long-term stress. Short-term stress can be quite awesome. But long-term stress, it's an illusion. It's a mental made construct that is not helping you in any way. You cannot prove to me that your stress is reasonable. It's always unreasonable. It's always not in the right place. So if you're too tight, relax. And if your mind resists the relaxation, relax even more. There are a million ways to relax. Spa, massage, taking a walk outside in nature, doing some restorative yoga, meditate, walking a dog. Even if you don't have a dog, maybe some of your friends have a dog. Playing with animals, playing with children can all be relaxing, very relaxing. Now, when you're too loose, how do you tune yourself a little bit more tighter? That is by letting yourself get a little bit more active. Stress yourself a little bit. Make a deadline for yourself. Just make a commitment for yourself. Say, for example, like, okay, instead of saying like, oh my God, I will start exercising tomorrow, start saying, no, for the next 7 days, I will do a workout program and I start right now. That's a little bit of positive stress in your life. And you make a commitment and you have a timely deadline and you say, okay, I'm going to do this right now. You tune yourself a little bit more tighter when you're too loose so that you get in tune with life again. When you're too tight, you need to tune yourself a little bit looser so that you get in tune with life again. And in tune with life means you are listening automatically to your truth. But also listening to yourself, if you're too tight or too loose, is listening to your truth and where you currently are. So this metaphor, I like it so much. It's absolutely genius. It's so easy to understand. And you can always feel, this is a dynamic process because sometimes we are too tight and sometimes we are too loose. So it's just a matter of tuning the guitar. I need to tune my, I definitely need to tune it now. I need to tune my guitar all the time, you know. It needs to be tuned to properly play my melodies. It's the same in life. Your strings, your heart strings, your spirit strings needs to be properly tuned so that you can play your melodies, so you can express your truth. And by doing this, by proactively listening to yourself, oof, this is powerful. Only this metaphor about the guitar and listening to yourself on that and changing your life on that can have massive results in your life, and it certainly has on mine. And that's why I try to be in tune as much as I can. At the moment, I'm maybe a little bit too much over, so a little bit too tight, which means I need to do more relaxations. But yesterday I had an incredible walk in the forest, almost 3 hours with beautiful soul connections, talking, and that really loosened me up. And it gave me so much confirmation I was on the right track. And I was like, ah. So I already feel way better than before yesterday. You can do that too. Make sure your guitar, your strings are in tune. Sorry about that. I was editing the video and I found out I completely forgot this point in my original filming of this video. It was a point that the Akashic Records said to me. Completely forgot it. So let's go into it. It's a pretty important point. And it's probably one of the most cliche sounding points of this whole list. And that is, listen to the heart's flow. Listen to the heart's guidance. Now, this is very cliche, yes, but I have found that this is super literally meant. So when we are like, this is so cliche, we actually remove us from receiving an incredible wisdom that is not only repeated by ancient times, by religions, by, you see many religions and deities pointing to the heart. You see Jesus, you see the Buddha, you see many different deities pointing to this energy center. It's very literally meant that they are pointing to this energy center. This is the way of the truth. This is the way. Now, what I really mean with that, it's so literal, and your mind needs to understand that. Some people are like still finding it so cliche when you're saying listen to your heart. It's not at all cliche. Let me show you what I mean. Normally when you were listening, at the moment you're listening to this video, so your focus of your ears are on the device or on your earpieces or headphones or whatever. When you're listening to your thoughts, your focus is kind of here in your head. When you're listening to the environment, or maybe when you're in a park, you're listening to the birds, you're listening to the birds. What I mean with listen to your heart is literally put that hearing focus that you're having and place it completely here. Now, when you start doing that, first of all, after a while, you will feel you are hearing your heartbeat very clearly. Well, maybe when you were not listening to this area, you would not necessarily catch your heartbeat. When you start listening to here, you will feel, even without touching, you will start noticing that you feel and hear, perceive your heartbeat. Now, as soon as your heartbeat is perceived, this area is actually also a thinking area. Science have proven that there are neurites in your system, similar to neurons, but way bigger. And these neurites are able to produce thought, but these thoughts are talking differently to you. If you hear your heartbeat and you're listening to this area, you might ask this area a question, and what you will notice is that an answer comes. Maybe not so clear as thoughts in your mind, but by listening continuously to it, it will become clearer and clearer. Maybe it comes as a knowing, maybe it comes as a whisper, maybe it comes as a feeling. But take this advice so literally that you're literally placing your focus into the chest area and ask a question to this area. This area will always know. This area will always be connected to the truth. Your mind can have many options available. It can think about what worked in the past better and maybe you should apply it again. It might think about a teacher that you have followed that had great advice and maybe you should try that. Maybe it is also a little bit anxious of the future and wants to avoid a certain possibility. So it's also thinking about that. And it can have many different options. Oh, I could go to that party. I could also take a walk. I could also go to bed early today. I can also just call up a friend because I feel a little bit lonely. There are many options in the mind. Here, just the option that is good for you right now will always spring to the surface. Now, what the Akashic Records have said to me, it makes so much sense, but we do it way too little, and I do it way too little as well, is this area constantly knows what is best for you, knows the way. Sometimes it also talks in expansion or contraction. Sometimes when you start listening to this, for example, you really want to do something, but all of a sudden a block appears, as if you're hitting a wall here. Now, that doesn't mean it's not a good option, but that means first sit with this wall and listen to this wall and then go and do your thing that you need to do. So if you're there and you're like, oh my God, I want to go to this event, let's say, I want to start this business. But as soon as you think about it and you ask this area and this area shows you that there is a physical wall that you're hitting, and it's really good to keep on listening to this wall. Because maybe when you're listening to this wall for a minute, a memory pops up that you first need to see. Maybe an anxiety or an angst needs to pop up before you need to see. Maybe an emotion needs to be seen first before you are able to start that business properly. And actually, by listening to this area, you access the fastest way to what is truly true for you and what you truly desire. You even notice when you start talking instead of here to here. If I talk from the mind, my voice gets a little less deep and a little bit more shallow and a little bit more active. When I talk from the heart, there is more depth, there is more calmness, there is more, I don't need to fill up the space with words. It's easier for me to let silences fall in conversations and be okay with silence. There is just so much here that is really good to start listening to more and more and more. And what starts happening is this path starts to appear. And this path starts to appear one step at a time. So you need to be okay to be surrendered. And if you really want to give this a try, do this for a day. Do this for a day when you're free or even a day when you're working. Just, okay, let me really listen to this area and just follow what it says. Follow what it is guiding me towards. It will create a path that will create more and more you and more what feels aligned and true to you. Now, what does that mean? For example, today, I wake up, I feel incredibly tired. So I listen to my heart and my heart says, sleep a little bit more. So I sleep a little bit more. I feel better after that. I wake up, I listen again to my heart, and it says, it's actually really good to take a walk outside. I had things planned. I wanted to edit this video. I wanted to do these things. I was like, okay. Even though my mind was like, you have to edit videos and you have to do that, and you have a morning routine that consists of Qigong and yoga and meditation and blah, blah, blah. My heart just said, go outside, go for a walk, and listen to your audiobook that I'm listening to right now. And instead of doing all of these things that were on my mind, I just did that. And I feel now so peaceful and calm and supported during this day. My energy or my morning routine and the things that I wanted to do, even though really great things to be doing, might have caused me to not honor where I'm at in my energy and not honor what I'm here to give today and what is my energy. But my heart constantly knows what is my energy, knows what is best for me in the moment. And the more you listen to it, the clearer that communication becomes. So you might be at the moment like, okay, I'm listening to this, but I don't hear anything. Listen a little closer. See if something is changing when you're asking a different question. What is changing? Is it communicating as an emotion? Is it communicating as a knowing? Is it communicating as kinesthetic movement or energy? I didn't know how to listen to my heart at first, so I thought it was not talking to me. But in reality, it was talking all the time to me, but I was expecting clear sentences and thoughts. While in my personal case, it communicates in knowing, which is way more subtle and way more in the background, and kinesthetic movement. So when I ask it a question, I feel movement happening and a knowing appears. So it's not a clear sentence. It's more like, I feel this would really make me feel alive today, or would really make me feel happy today. And by listening to that, you are creating the path of love or the path of truth. And listening to this, the more and more, the more you start really listening to this truth. I will say it one more time. Take all of the cliche things that has to do with the heart super literally, and you will become a very wise human being. It's so crazy, Home is where the heart is, right? This is what we see all the time. But what if you start really living like your home is where your heart is? Literally where your heart is. What if you make this your home? What if you all of a sudden all the time feel home? What if you all of a sudden all the time feel that you are belonging in the here and now? You will never feel lonely again. You will never feel you're out of touch with life again. Just by literally applying that cliche sign that's on somebody's front door or front porch. It's incredible. So I advise you all the hard cliche things to take them very literal and try them out at least for a day or two and experiment with it, and you will become very great in listening to your truth. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next point. Let's go to the next one. Oof. Oh wow, this one I can do a whole video on, maybe the other ones too, but this one is very powerful. And they said it multiple times in multiple readings. So this one is very powerful, and it's a little bit different than what we just talked about, but this is a topic for me since the very first moment I started personal development. This topic has been very present in my life, and that is the mix of masculine and feminine inside of each person. And knowing that, learning now how to know that, and learning how to listen to that. Because the feminine have their ways of manifestation and creation. The masculine have their ways of manifestation and creation. None is better than the other. Both are amazing. Together, they're even more amazing. And there is just really a lot of value in knowing where you are and what your essence is vibrating at and what you truly like. And then listening to that and moving on to that. For example, if you feel in your ideal state of being, are you someone who directly moves to someone and asks a question, or are you someone who allows a person to come to you to have a conversation? These kind of things are like, but this has a lot to do with if you have a masculine essence or a feminine essence, because the masculine most of the time is direct. It's in a way a penetrating force. In its very essence, it's the penetrating force. So it likes to penetrate truth and love into reality in a personal way. That means when you want to create something, are you going directly to where it is? Are you going directly to it? Or are you allowing life to bring it to you? Because the feminine force is the allower, is the receiver, is the embracer, right? So you have the masculine, who is the let's go straight to the point, let's go directly there, and the feminine is the embracer. Both are needed. And it's really good to know where you are, to know how you can navigate life a little better and listen to your truth. Now, this is a very deep topic, and I love this topic, so let me know in the comments if you would love for me to dive more into this. Because I absolutely love this topic, but for the sake of this video, I want to keep it a little bit short. The thing is, if you want to listen more to your truth, there are two different ways to listen more to your truth. In a masculine and a feminine way. And for me, I'm very balanced. Maybe you already know, I'm not a super masculine man. No, I have a lot of feminine energy in me. I'm quite balanced in my energy. So I have masculine and I have feminine in me. I have both. So in my case, I need to use both ways to listen to my truth. Now, in the case of a completely feminine person, you would like to really love to ask a question and receive. You would like to really receive and feel your answers. So by receiving and feeling, you are able to listen to your truth. A masculine essence would more likely go for it and experience along the way and learn from experience. So it will just go, and maybe very spontaneously go, or create a system to experience something, or create in a way an assertiveness, a proactiveness to go and experience something and learn from the mistakes along the way. And then become better and better at it. So both are truth givers, right? Both the experience from the assertive masculine that just goes for it, but also the feminine that asks for it and feels deeply into her essence what the truth is. They are both incredible levels of listening to your truth. But it's good to know where you are and what your essence is vibrating at. I have both in me. After lots of exploration, I'm just like, okay, I'm quite balanced. I have both. So let me use both. Let me experience and go for things, but sometimes also deeply feel to see if such an experience will actually soothe my soul. So I use both to listen deeper to my truth. And it doesn't matter which way you choose. You can even try both and see which one works best for you. You will notice very quickly which way works best for you. And what, a fully masculine person, if you would say just feel and listen to your heart, it would make no sense of that. It would be like, what are you talking about? But if you say that to a feminine, it will deeply resonate. It's like, oh my God, of course, the heart. Oh my God, let me feel it. Let me dive into it. Let me embrace it. And from that place, all the truth that she needs will just come out like a well, like a spring, like. And if you would say to her, like, come, go, let's experience, she would be, oh, wait a second, I need to feel first before I go there. Well, if you say it to a masculine, it will be even quicker to the car than you are. So by knowing this, it's very beautiful to understand your life and to understand your essence, and to, based on that, move with life better and listen to truth better. You will be just more efficient in listening to your truth. Wow, we're at the last point, you guys. Thank you for being here all the way to the end. I'm gonna read this because it's from the place. They say, this is a copy-paste from my Akashic Record reading, listening to this knowingness is of great truth listening. It always comes from God, especially when it is light and on the background like a whisper. This is good to give more priority to. See your life change as you do. This is the final thing to keep on doing. What they are saying here is when you listen and there is light, spontaneous thought, sometimes as a knowing or as a background whisper, it's not fully in your face. It's actually it's there, it's there, it's embracing, but it's a light energy, it's a light feeling. What I mean with light is not bright as a light that shines, but light as the opposite of heavy. So you can have heavy energy that weighs you down, but you can also have light energy that's almost weightless, that makes you feel weightless. That kind of light. So when you're, and maybe they're the same thing on a level, they're probably the same thing. This light energy, if you start feeling this in an ID, for example, like you have an ID and you don't know if it's a good ID, but it just feels almost weightless. It makes you almost weightless. It's a little bit on the background, but it's very weightless. This, most of the time, they say, comes from God, comes from your higher self, comes from higher intelligence, whatever you want to call it. And therefore, it's a priority to listen to this. Now, I have this many times. I even talked about it yesterday. There are these moments of light thought, and then after that, the mind comes, the critical, analytical mind comes and explains to you why it's not a good idea. And most of the time, we don't listen to it. And most of the time, we stay in the loop, we stay stuck, we stay where we are at for maybe sometimes many years, because we are not allowing this light thought to enter our reality and to take action on these light thoughts. You can also call it spontaneous thought. You can also call it first thought, because most of the time it comes very naturally and spontaneously in your field. And then your mind's immediately like, no, that's not a good idea. No, you're not the right person for this. No, you know, like maybe you're in a conference and somebody asks like, hey, does anyone have a question? And you have a question. And you're like, oh my God, yes, I have a question. But then your mind is like, no, I don't know if you should ask it. Probably someone else asks it. Who are you to take the stage? Let other people take the stage. Like, other people probably more need it than you do. That's the analytical mind putting that new thought down. But probably if you only listened to that first light thought of, yes, I have a question, and you put up your hand and you asked it, probably you didn't only help yourself, but you maybe helped many others that had that question as well, but didn't dare to ask. And so most of the time, this light thought is a win-win. And most of the time, not listening to this light thought is a lose-lose. As in, you win and they win, or you lose and they lose. And it can be with everything, like, oh, maybe I should go to a public speaking event. Or maybe I should go to the gym. Like, who am I to go to the gym? I'm already in my 60s. And you, like, there's always this dynamic going on of first thought, analytical mind. You know? First thought, analytical mind. And the analytical mind is most of the time louder, most of the time on the foreground, most of the time coming from here and feeling a little bit heavy if you feel into the weight of it. And first thought is most of the time more whispery, more light, more spontaneous, makes you more weightless when you think of it. And this thought is the thought that the Akashic Records confirmed comes from God, comes from a higher place. Prioritize this. Listen to this. The more you start to become, you know, the thing that we now listen most of the time to our analytical mind is just because we have done it for many years. The way we can reverse it is just to listen more to the other thought. And by explaining this to you, I hope to make the distinction a little bit more clear, because, you know, we're all dealing with our own mind. It's a little bit hard, but when you start to clearly distinct, that's light thought, that's heavy thought. That is first thought, that is secondary thought. Or this is spontaneous thought, this is analytical mind thought. As soon as you really start feeling inside of yourself how these two are completely different expressions of thought forms, you start to truly, with greater ease, lean in more to that spontaneous thought. When you start to lean in more to the spontaneous thought, it will prove again and again and again to you that it actually knew something that you maybe didn't know. It actually had an amazing surprise or an amazing gift or an amazing win or a new person you were ready to meet that 2 months later gives you a new job opportunity. Exact. Like that, listening to your truth, listening to these thoughts, learning how to listen to this brings you again and again to the right places, and you become lucky. A lot of people start to say, oh my God, you're so lucky. You're not lucky. Or maybe everyone is lucky. You just became more aware of what it means to listen to yourself. And a person that listens to the truth always seems lucky to the outside world. I, for example, moved to Spain. I moved to Spain because I really didn't like the winters in the Netherlands. And I don't like the mentality in the Netherlands too. I think it's, in my opinion, it's a country that has had their glory days and now is going downhill. Spain is, in its energy, way more relaxed, way less stressed, and the weather is amazing. The weather is absolutely amazing here. I'm a Leo, so I love to have the sun near me. I love to have good weather. And I felt in my being, wow, I should go to Spain. I should go live outside. But then, no, I should get a job first. I should do this first. I should finish my study first, blah, blah, blah. But I listened more to the light thought. It had become one of my better decisions in life to be here. And then when my family comes or when I talk on the phone and it's still December and I don't need to wear a jacket when I go outside, they're like, oh my God, you're so lucky. No, I just listen to my truth. Yes, it maybe looks like lucky on your end. Yes, I am very blessed. I feel very, very blessed in life. Just like doing this for you. I stopped my programming job to do this for you. It was a hard decision. It had lots of crazy emotions attached to it that I needed to went through. When I was in the middle of the emotions, you would never say to me, oh, you're so lucky. I was in deep panic, existential crisis. I had so many things going on. I was screaming and not being able to do anything for months. And on the other side is a job that I truly love to do. This video where I can share with you what I'm learning about life, and hopefully that is of interest to you. Maybe even you like to work together with me because of it. I love it. It's such a natural, beautiful thing for me to be giving to you, and I feel absolutely blessed. But is that lucky? Or did I listen to this thought, this new thought, a little bit more than most people? And was I a little bit easier to go out of that comfort zone because I knew new thought would always bring me to a better place? And I have the feeling it's way more the new thought than I'm actually lucky. I feel people that are not lucky are just listening to their analytical mind way too much. And people that are lucky are people that are listening to this new thought a lot more. Wow, this was quite a big list. I hope this was of value to you. Even just one of these points makes you already a way better truth listener. And adapting all of these points will make you an absolute expert in listening to your truth. I needed to remind myself of these because it's been, I think, September, October when I asked these questions. So it was a really great reminder for me to see what the Akashic Records have been sharing me for a whole month. I like the metaphors. I like how simple their wisdom is. I absolutely, one of the biggest gifts in my life as well is Akashic Record wisdom. If you want to have that same gift in your life, daily, whenever you want, guidance of a very high quality, I'm here. I would love to teach you. I have a beautiful course online, and I will do a special live initiation at the beginning of 2025. So stay tuned for that. If you want, subscribe. I will share more in later videos. For now, I wish you an incredible, beautiful day with a lot of truth, with a lot of ease to listening to your truth. Feel into yourself. You have all the answers, and inside of yourself is a path to great glory, bliss, happiness, joy. And it all starts with knowing how your truth is expressing through you. So let's all listen to our truth a little bit more. And I say thank you so much for being here all the way to the end. I appreciate you. Much love.